That was a day. That was a couple days. Relax time. That's all work, getting this barn done. Then now we have an unexpected new animal coming. This little goat, I'll post up a picture of it if I remember to in the edit part. Its name's Willow, and it basically it gets carried around like a little baby and it loves it. So that's what I had to build today, was this temporary pen inside the barn here. Got all the sheeting done, got the vapor barrier up. This entire room is completely gutted out, finally. Hung a couple hay baskets in here for these guys, and they've been hanging out in here the whole time while I build. It's hilarious. They don't care about the saws, hammers, nothing. They just want to hang out with me while I'm doing stuff. So, gonna get some shares out, sit down and relax a minute. This actually works out good for me, doing this before I go in. And for all you loggers out there that were possibly jerked into watching that, hold on, let me kicking that bucket around. I know there's a pile of loggers out there that know exactly what we're talking about here in this channel. I know there is a pile of loggers out there that have seen these things, heard things, know about them, and they are probably been forced into keeping their mouths shut. They don't want to admit to the co-workers or whatever. Just so you guys know, the cat's out of the bag, man. The cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows. Most of us know. And you don't have to leave your name if you want to share what you know. You don't have to. I haven't screwed anybody over. Whatever you want me to not share, I don't share it. Lots of people bitch at me for that too. I don't know why. I haven't a clue why. Who in their right mind would ever encourage giving somebody your word and then breaking your word? I don't know how many, I've noticed that a few times. I've had that pointed out, of people blowing a gasket because I don't share what people ask me not to share. What are you, stupid? Grab some character at the corner store, right? Some integrity, some honesty, for God's sake. Get your head out of your ass. You don't do that to anybody ever, under no circumstances, whatever. But anyway, back to you loggers. Just share what you got. Share what you know. You can leave out, you don't have to say who you're working for, what mountain you're cutting on, whatever. You don't have to say nothing. Just tell us what you know about these damn things, and give us a chunk of your knowledge, all right? There's a lot of people out here, including other people who are in the same profession as you, or even possible co-workers, that could really use your knowledge, what you know, what you've seen, what you heard, all right? Because it's helping put these puzzles together. All right, let's get on with some more shares here and get the word out. Sierra Vocalizations. Absolutely everything familiar about that title. Hi Steve, really enjoy the channel and the stories. My deepest condolences for lost Mr. Macaroni. They're part of the family. Lost my little service dog back in April after 12 years of being on my side. I miss that little girl every day. I must say, if my daughter's brought home guys with her, with your morals and ethics, I'd be a happy dad. LOL. Thanks for those kind words, man. Anyway, on to the story. August 7th, 2021, in the area of Ice House Reservoir, down Granite Springs Road in North Carolina. Myself and 3 buddies were camping. One of them is a hunting buddy, and he and I were up there scouting for deer season. He and I had scouted around earlier in the day and found a lot of sign. Good prospective area. After the other 2 buddies broke their camp and headed home, our goal was to glass the valley that ran along the road and where we'd been earlier. It was about 8:30ish. We decided to head back to camp. Well, walking back, we'd heard something a long way off down the valley. It was strange. A mix of a bark, a growl, and a crump. We heard it a couple of times, way down about a mile down the valley. My buddy and I are avid followers of your channel, and the first thing was, "Oh, hell no," with a laugh. He was able to get Wi-Fi and was looking up local wildlife sounds. Nothing matching. Steve, we had seen a big black bear. That's what I thought it was at first. As the evening progressed and we were pre-packing our gear, he asked, "Hey Al, you hear that?" "Nope," says I. "What?" "It was loud," he said. I stopped. what I was doing, and I said, you know, there's been encounters where people heard something, other members of the group didn't hear a thing. Later, we thought we heard the same movement in the trees and the brush about 25 yards away between us and the road. We chucked it up as critters and hit the rat. At about 2:30, I woke in my hammock/tarp and heard something moving around about 10 feet or so from my shelter. And I actually sniffed around and didn't smell anything. I just figured it was my buddy walking off to do a nature's call. The next morning, as we were finishing up our breakdown, I asked him if he had gotten up. He said, around 2:30? Yeah, but I heard something walking around. Thought it was you. It didn't seem like heavy stepping, but definitely bipedal. We'll be back up there in 2 weeks for hunting season. Let's see what happens. Hopefully you got the email I sent you in May about the encounter my dad had back in the 50s. Use my name, I don't give a damn what people think. Keep up the good work, Al Martin. Thanks, Al. And you know, you guys might want to think about bringing a few extra trail cameras possibly and put them around you guys where you sleep and cook facing out towards the timber, possibly. If you don't want to get harassed too bad and camp at nighttime and you get some sleep. And don't forget to say out loud, I know you're here, you know I'm here. Let's not screw it up for each other. And mean it. That's what I do, all right? You don't want to have I mean, it's up to you. There's lots of people out there trying to have an encounter with these things. I haven't a clue why myself. You just got to be careful what you ask for out there, right? Careful what you ask for. Listen to all these experiences. The outcome's never really something to be it's never something to be craving, right? What's this? Title, second encounter. Be safe and good luck hunting, you guys, but be safe, all right? Steve, D from Northern again. As I said in my first email that I had a couple other experiences. Well, it's what happened the second time I seen what I call the big guys. As I told you, I've done a lot of things in my life. As I said before, my grandfather would tell us stories, teach us as we sat on a ditch bank or laid in a field and looked at the stars, waiting for the water. One of the things he told us was never pass up an opportunity to explore or learn new things. I think that is why I ventured out into so many things in my life. At one point I was cowboying, training horses, chasing cows, and yes, doing a bit of rodeoing. It was always a good time at the end of the summer to get invited to go to the mountains and help gather cows. It always started before daylight, and your day ended when there was no more light. Great friends, good food, and many, many hours of solitude riding, gathering cows. We were always treated to a big dinner every night and great bullshitting around the fire before the next day. This would have been around the mid-80s. Anyway, about 3 days in, we were looking for the last 30-40 head, which meant a lot of miles searching for strays. I and my partner got sent to a pretty remote area, about 5 miles back into an area called Big Muddy. The area there is steep, big pines and big jagged rock boulders. It can be tough going. I was riding a stud Mustang horse I had broke a couple years earlier. He was as sure-footed as a mule. He was not real big, but his heart was. He was not afraid of anything. Right away back in there, he made a big loop around the area and found no strays. It was getting late afternoon and would be getting dusk before we got back to camp. My partner and I split up to cover more ground. The horse's name was Skip. We were sitting in a clearing on the side of the hill, just me and Skip, when he kind of hunched up, pointed his ears, and got very skittish. This is not like him. I gathered up my reins and started paying attention to what he was looking at. He started sucking air and kind of blowing as he stood there. This all means he's not happy and he's getting ready to blow up. I'm getting ready for him to come apart when across the canyon, a little above us in a clearing, steps out one of the big guys. He takes about 4 or 5 steps into the middle of the clearing when Skip lets out a whinny and he stops and turns and just looks at us. He's probably about 200 yards away. He never made any sound, just stood there looking at us. It was kind of like time stood still. Skip was quiet, not moving or really even breathing hard. We all just stood there quietly looking at each other. It was tall, very tall. It had to have been 7 or 8 feet tall, judging by the trees around him. Kind of a dirty blonde color. Darker patch around the elbows, hips, and knees. Maybe it was just dirt too. Had long, I would say, shoulder-length hair and a longer beard. The hands and feet and face were darker in color than most of the hair. It swayed back and forth as it stood there. It was very broad at the shoulders and narrowed at the hips. Long arms, very thick, powerful thighs. He was far enough away that I never could make out the face much at all. It didn't appear to have a neck or much of one anyway. After what seemed like 10 to 15 minutes staring, Skip started moving gently under me. Then he pawed the ground a few times. I looked down to ensure he was not going to bolt out from underneath me. When I looked back up, he was gone. I've read and listened to a lot of the experience of others. I've heard of the sheer terror people have felt and the feeling of doom they felt. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to say or judge anything. I'm just saying that I've not experienced that. Yes, my brother and I felt what I call pressure to move on. Keep going, but not scared shitless as some have talked about. I've also heard others talk about mind speak, getting told things without speech. I emailed you about this subject. I wonder if we humans react to these things we don't understand to the point we terrorize ourselves. It is human nature to fear the unknown. Like I said, I'm not judging anyone and their experience. It's just a thought. I'll relate the last experience later. Thanks, Steve, for giving people a place to share the things that they can't with others for fear of ridicule. Like I said, I've seen too much and experienced too much evil to be scared of much of anything. We as humans are a pretty shitty race. We are really the cruelest inhabitants on this planet. Anyway, thanks again. Keep up the good work. Keep your head down on a swivel. Mind your six. The ones that don't want all the things that go bump in the night brought out into the light surely are listening. You know what? I'm sure they are too, and just for those dark pricks, you guys can ram it up your ass. How's that sound? P.S. Just for you, all right? All right, man. Thanks for that message. Thanks for the words of caution. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the heads up. And believe me, you guys, I get so many heads up emails sent to me this past month that pertain to other topics that are going on the planet. It's ridiculous. Everybody wants me to share it on the Rumble. They're clamping down. Google is clamping down. Obviously, 100% Google was definitely the enemy of the people. Kind of ironic, here we are on the platform at the same time, right? But I do have to kind of watch it in a way, because right now via this avenue right here, this platform, we're getting an average 3.5 million views a month on this one channel. And once I got the other one ripping along, it usually adds up to about 7 million hits a month. All right? And that is a far cry what's going on the Rumble channel currently. But we'll get there. But I will keep it, the topic, I'll just keep this cruising along at the speed that we're doing right now. And as we progress and gain more knowledge and people become more aware, more knowledge filled, then we'll start venturing out and sharing a lot more. When I get time, I will be sharing a lot of the information and knowledge that these very important people have been sending me nonstop. It's so much, it's a little overwhelming. But for all of you people out there who are sending me those emails, I'm reading them. All right, and I'm saving them, okay? Just so you know, you're not wasting your time. Keep it coming. All right, let's stop right there and carry on with listening to more of the people, all right? And stick to this topic right now and get the knowledge shared. Thanks for that email, man. And I'm right along with you. I've met some evil. I'm eventually going to share a story with you. I'm going to share my story with you guys. I'm going to share with you a few items that have happened to me throughout my lifetime, and it'll help you understand how I became who I am, and it'll also help you understand why I have the attitude that I have when it comes to people who want the power, want the attention, want the authority, and want the control. And you'll understand a lot more of why I like to antagonize them, stick it to them, tell them to ram it up their ass, and challenge them, okay? Because I have zero respect for those people. And I will share a story with you all eventually so you'll understand more. And then I will guarantee you that the majority of you who typically get a little upset with me when I go on a few of my rants or get pissed off, you'll probably be a little more patient with me once I share with you, okay? Now, what I was going to say, adding to that, was getting back to the original emailer, man. I'm right there with you. I've seen a lot of evil myself. I've been through some things that I would not wish upon your average person. And survived, and I'm not scared of much anything either. I get it. I'm still I go out obviously by myself all the time in the remote areas where these things are, and I basically just tell them to ram it up their ass and leave me alone. That's the attitude that I have. It's working. But there's a lot more going on the planet, right? A lot more. This is titled Hairy Dude. Hey Steve, this is something that had crossed my mind and wanted to share this thought with you. I wrote in before titled What I Know. This was first-hand personal experience. I still camp and do a 4-day canoe trip every year in Upper Michigan and northern Lower Michigan. Just so you know, I still do my thing with Mother Nature. No strange events to tell since the footprint my kids stumbled onto in the mud a couple of Februarys ago. But you know, once you have an experience, it's hard to turn it off. I will say this though, I was mowing the graveyard up where the print was found and got so dizzy I almost fell off my lawnmower. No telling why, but it never happened before or since. I'm always on high alert when I'm up there now and carry a .44 mag in a shoulder holster. Anyhow, the thought that crossed my mind was this. I was looking at Scott Carpenter's vids and pics on YouTube, and more than once you can see what it looks like, maybe a parasite creature that may be attached to the Dogman or Hairy Dude / Bigfoot. Although he only mentioned on the Dogman pic, later in another vid he said he finds other entities when there is a creature involved. The thoughts I had were this. We know these things, know where trail cameras are set up. We also know when Navy jets had their encounter with a UFO was waiting for them at their rendezvous point. Scott said these things will follow you home if you seek them out. So I say this, what if they can track your electronics? What if the body they use is a vehicle for a parasite in order to handle our atmosphere? I told you about the whistling back and forth in the holler at night in our Kentucky deer camp and witnessing UFOs both at night and in the broad light of day that year, and the deer coming into camp while we were talking by the fire and bedding down right in front of us. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I remember that. Just trying to put two and two together like everyone else. Maybe this can help and maybe not, but if I were seeking these things out, I would probably leave my electronics somewhere other than where I lay my head at night. Also, I seen on NVTV the clip of you with the UFO over your shoulder while reading a share. Did you look at the original video? What did you find out? Strange happenings these days, to say the least. Take care, my friend. Thanks for what you do. You have my respect. I think we need to find out what these things are so we know if we need to hunt them down before there are too many or deplete their food source. I don't think it's a big monkey. That's my thought. All right, there's a bunch of thoughts to share, and maybe you'll get somebody else's wheels turning, or maybe somebody is shaking their head in agreement or adding to it, or who knows what, right? Maybe you just triggered somebody's light bulb to go off. I don't know. But as far as these things depleting their food source, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not convinced, myself personally, I'm not convinced they are right here full time. Myself. I'm not convinced of that yet. I don't think I'll be able to be convinced they're here full time. But we'll see. I get so much information so often, the pieces to my puzzle will go here and kind of fit there for a little bit, and then I gotta pull them out and take them out of the puzzle again as I'm putting my puzzle pieces together. Sometimes I go off in this direction, and lately I've been swaying to go in a different direction. See? So it's a confusing thing to put our puzzle pieces together, our puzzles, and complete them, but we're gonna do it. You just don't quit. You don't give up, you don't stop. You never quit. And then you'll finish that puzzle. I'll guarantee you I'm gonna finish my puzzle. There's an doubt in my mind I'm gonna complete my puzzle. When I do, I'm gonna share every single little tidbit of it with you guys. But the rule number one is you don't quit. Somebody comes and shits all over you, you dump all over them. And you kick them to the side and you plow through them and you keep going and you do not quit. Right? All right, here we go. Let's get back. I gotta get in and get clean, get my hair cut. Sarah doesn't want me to shave this crap off my face, but I don't like it. Maybe I'll leave it on for hunt season, we'll see. This is driving me nuts. I feel like a dirtbag right now. A hairy dirtbag. Okay, what do we got here? Humboldt and Trinity County, California experiences. I want to start by saying thank you for bringing light to this topic and giving people a place to share and get validation for the things they've seen. I've had a handful of strange things happen to me in my life, and I was born and raised in Humboldt County, California. The most strange thing is the first thing that happened when I was 11. I've also had a lot of smaller, strange experiences, like seeing some unexplainable things and hearing some mostly unexplainable things. Or just having some weird feelings, like kind of a sixth-like sense. Since I started watching your channel over the last year and a half, I began taking your advice. I'm doing my best to talk to the people that give me the feeling that they have had the same sort of experiences that I have. When I meet someone and start talking to them, and I know they've spent a lot of time in the woods like I have, I just ask them if they've had any weird experiences. Like if they've had any strange things happen in the woods. Most of the time they have. And they tell me some pretty crazy stories. I appreciate you suggesting that we ask people their stories and talk amongst each other to help everyone get a better understanding of what we deal with. This world is a crazy place. And it is amazing what is censored out of our, and it is amazing what is censored out of our lives. It is amazing. And it's pretty freaking sad. And it makes me mad. It makes me want to fight. I spent a lot of time in the woods between hunting, fishing, logging, and these days hauling logs out of the woods, and I've had some pretty crazy experiences in my 27 years on this earth. My first experience with these things was about a month after my dad passed when I was 11. A couple of young guys from my mom's work took me under their wing after he passed and took me to do boy things. One of the guys took me camping for the weekend down in Myers Flat, California along the Eel River. We got camp set up, ate dinner, and were hanging out around the campfire for a while. It was a pretty moonlit night, so we decided to take a walk down to the river. We were camped at the edge of the campground near the start of the trail, through the brush, down to the river. It was only about a 7-yard walk or so. When we broke out of the brush line down to the river, we could see across the river very well thanks to the bright moonlit night. Across the river from us was 5 to 7 very tall and skinny, strangely proportioned humanoid creatures with very long arms down past their knees. The best way I can describe their action was they were mingling amongst each other. I don't remember feeling afraid, just very confused. On that side of the river was the state park land with no roads to my knowledge. So, to see these people was very puzzling. They did not seem to notice us. They were just slowly moving amongst each other. My friend and I looked at each other and we slowly started backing up the trail. We didn't say a word down there, but when we got back and sat next to the fire, we were having trouble wrapping our minds around what we saw. Him and I sat around the fire for a couple minutes talking about what we saw, trying to make sure our minds were not playing tricks on us. We were both pretty unsettled. I was 5'4", 11-year-old, so naturally I was scared shitless. But to see this guy I was with be so spooked really said something. He was an 18-year-old, 6'6", 300-pound linebacker. So he balled our tents up and shoved them along with our gear into the trunk of his Mustang and left. This is the first of many weird things that happened to me in my life out in the woods. I never really thought too much of it. I always thought of experiences kind of like, oh yeah, that time I saw a Sasquatch on the river. Little did I know this would be the first of many strange things to happen in the woods for me. The guys from my mom's work were not the only ones to take me under their wing when my dad passed. My dad's Coast Guard buddies also did, one of which, Mike, taught me to hunt and took me in the woods regularly for weekend fishing and hunting trips. My first deer season hunting was with him. I was 14. One weekend we were checking out some new areas to hunt, and it must have been late October. It was cold and the ground was wet from recent rains. We wanted to check out a place called Fish Lake, the popular camping and fishing lake in the summer. This is our area. This is in an area of Bluff Creek where the Patterson-Gimlin footage was taken. Not that that adds to the story, but it might give some people a point of reference. The campground was closed for the season, so the gate was locked and there's nobody around. We parked the truck at the gate and walked in. We took a path that circles around the small lake. We're almost to the far side of the lake when a couple of ducks took off from the opposite side heading straight for us. We paused and thought it was strange. So we changed course and headed back the way we come. We were interested to see what spooked the ducks, so we passed the campground where the truck was parked and headed to the far side of the lake the ducks had come from. When we got to the far side of the lake, we noticed a muddy hole in the uphill side of the path where a blowdown had pulled up the root ball of a tree. In the muddy hole was a single bare footprint pointing uphill. This is a very fresh track. It had to have been because it was raining a lot in the days leading up to this. Almost the exact same time we noticed this track, a rock came tumbling down the hill from above us. The rock was only about softball size and didn't appear to have been thrown. The terrain in the area was very steep and rocky, so I figured maybe it got knocked loose by whatever was up there just walking. Or perhaps it was gently rolled down the hill to say, please get out of here. This is my time of the year at the lake. Either way, it's very strange. Mike and I are, and have been, firm believers that we are not the only thing in the woods. I previously shared my Myers Flat experience with him, and he'd always believed me. We did not feel in danger, nor afraid at Fish Lake that day, but to be respectful and not push the issue, we walked back to the truck and continued driving up Onion Mountain, above Fish Lake. We only had a couple of hours left of daylight, so we wanted to go explore more of that area. We drove all the way to the top of the mountain without seeing one single game animal. When we got close to the top of the mountain, we both started to get uneasy feeling, like we shouldn't be there. We began talking about turning around, but wanted to use the last bit of daylight to get to the top and then turn around. It wasn't long after feeling uneasy, we saw something kind of nasty and puzzling. In the middle of the dirt road was an enormous human poo. It was shaped just like how healthy humans would be shaped, just enormous. The diameter had to be equal or larger than a Budweiser can. At that point, it was good enough sign for us to leave. Once the truck had been turned around and we headed down the mountain, the feelings of being watched began to grow. By the time we had reached the bottom of the road, the feeling began to pass. I've never gone back there. I kind of figured whatever that things were out there just don't want any company. Thank you for taking the time to read this. If I get time, I'll edit the rest of my stories. I recorded them using talk to text, so it takes kind of a while. I'm very busy in life right now with 2 young children, a wife, a farm, and 2 full-time jobs. Once again, thank you for giving us an outlet. All right, Bo, thanks for sending that in, man. I think you're another classic example of what everybody usually mentions. As soon as you see one of these things, become aware of them. It's almost like you're targeted. And you unfortunately get to experience these things possibly numerous times throughout your lifetime, right? But the best thing you can do is do what you're doing. Speak openly and honestly about it. Share that knowledge with your kids. Tell your wife. Even if if your wife wants you to shut up and not talk about it, at least you told her, right? At least you told her. At least you were honest, and at least you shared with all the people out there, right? That's the way I look at it. It's like when I'm talking to people, especially in rural places, and I tell them honestly what I know. It's up to them to do what they want. But at least I told them. At least I was honest, and I told them and gave them the heads up. All right? There's not much more you can do. Keep talking out loud. Keep talking out loud. So many emails, you guys. So many freaking emails. They will never stop. They will never, ever, ever stop. These emails will never stop because these encounters will never stop. It's not even possible. The only way these encounters stop is if all these things got killed instantly somehow. And that's not going to happen. Just got to check that camera because usually it shuts off by itself. Filming with the Canon right now. Growling owl calls, human-like laughing encounter. Hi, Steve. I'm a long-time listener to HowToHunt.com and the facts on HowToHunt.com. I also have your book, The Day Sasquatch Became Real for Me. I've said since the first viewing your hunting videos, I won't settle until I find a man like Steve Isdall. He's honest, listens to his intuition, a great teacher, and respect for a no BS kind of guy. Thank you for everything you do. Cannot wait for the man cave and the round table talks. Thanks for the kind words, and me too. Can't wait to get all this work done. My entry into the club and a return was late June 2021. I was at my ex's house. I had gotten into an argument with him. I couldn't sleep, and I'd gotten up and went outside to hopefully catch some meteors from June's bootids. He lives on a nice farm with horses and a pack of dogs, German Shepherd, red and blue heelers, Dalmatian, and a Corgi mix. These dogs are awesome and are the best dogs I've been around. was probably around 2 a.m., warm and clear. Across the road from his property going south is a nature preserve that ends at a river. Very dense brush and beautiful. We have walked through the herds of deer only a few feet from us, suddenly jump up and run away. Makes you jump but cool to witness. The river makes an upside down L shape around his property. It is hilly here, but overall his property is higher in elevation, so it makes this big wavy bowl shape where the river bends. I was laying in the yard with all the dogs laying somewhere nearby. I heard what I thought was a loud, unnerving, and coyote howl/growl, possibly growling to get a mate to stop pestering her far off to the southwest, LOL. Normally at night, only the youngest and the strongest dogs would go investigate sounds. But at that howl, they all suddenly tore off down the drive into the preserve where the barking, were barking fiercely, but not going any further than the edge of the preserve. Then dogs at downriver properties began crazy barking. I realized I had been hearing dogs crazy barking in a progression as if something was coming upriver and coming quickly. My dogs were still barking, but I thought I heard another howl/growl, and the corgi, the youngest, came tearing back to me as fast as she could, scared and wouldn't leave my side. She was whining, shaking, and looking nervously at me in back of the sound. I'd never seen her this way. The rest of the dogs came back a few minutes later. They all looked scared. They walked as if they didn't want to be heard. They'd been barking nonstop at their fiercest level, even jumping and lunging towards the source of the growl, but now they were all dead silent and remained that way for the duration of the encounter. As soon as they came back to me, I began to hear owl sounds right around the bend of the river. At that very second I thought, oh shit, is this a Sasquatch? I began recording, but my phone didn't capture the intensity of the sound. These calls sounded like 8 to 10 foot tall owls. It almost sounded like they were calling to each other back and forth across the river. All the dogs were on high alert, facing directly at the sound. The sounds moved upriver with such speed I wondered if it was a boat. But why would someone be doing that in the middle of the night? I could hear there was distance between these beings, as if they were on each side of the riverbank. They were mimicking real owl sounds, but their timing wasn't the same as real owls. No owl has that lung capacity. They get far upriver and the calls consistently continue, with dogs going crazy as these beings moved up the river. I saw a few meteors, all green. One slowly streaked across the entire sky from east to west directly over me. It was such a magical, a once-in-a-lifetime moment. I think I said wow at least 3 times and thanked the heavens before it disappeared. Then they began to come back down the river. It's probably been an hour since the encounter started, possibly longer. They went miles to the north of me. I was truly stunned at how far away I could hear them. The hills around the house block out sound. This is a dirt bike racetrack on the adjacent property, and you can barely hear their engines as they come up the steep hills. Whoa! Now it sounds like there are 3 of them, and the third owl call is different, smaller and weaker, but playful, if that even sounds possible. Maybe it's a juvenile or a female. I could distinguish the vocal differences in each owl's sound. Once they reached the bend in the river again, they stopped and began hooting shorter, quicker hoots. Then all 3 of them hooting at one time, back and forth. This went on for a handful of minutes. When these beings began hooting all at the same time, 3 of the dogs ran away from me and hid behind the house. Something I'd never seen them do. They normally go after anything that potentially comes on the property. Only the alpha and beta males, a massive German Shepherd and a red heeler, stayed right next to me, and they looked like they could faint from fright, so I was definitely feeling scared. I'm shaking even typing this. True terror. A feeling I've never felt had completely overcome me. I was nervous before, but they weren't that close. The German Shepherd was actually sitting on my feet, body pressed against me, and the other was pressed to my side. It sounded like they were getting closer to me and fast, and their hoots were getting quieter. At this point, I began talking to myself like, what the F, what is this? Is this really happening? I kind of yelled and said, oh my God, what's going on? What do I do? At that, I heard the scariest human-like laughter I have ever heard. Probably 8 short and quick ha-ha-has. Then a long and drawn-out ha. Then the worst of all, a long, growling, and deep decrescendo ugh. The end of that last ugh was the most terrifying growl I've ever heard in any animal. It was a deep throat gurgle. Ha 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 ha. Hope I mimicked it, or maybe I don't hope I mimicked it. I was whispering this sound just now to get an accurate description. My dog is barking and in protector mode. Even making that sound has dark energy. It was so loud, it sounded like a teenage boy in puberty, but it was not human. No human could possibly laugh that loud from the distance and for that long. I literally jumped into the air and screamed and ran into the house. Then I come back outside, nor did I try to look out the windows. It was all I could talk about for days. That next night, me and the ex were standing out in the horse barn, and real owls were hooting nearby, and the corgi got scared again, but was looking up towards the sky this time. She calmed down after a few more hoots. Interestingly, only a few days after this experience, I saw a post on my ex's son's Facebook account. The son has riverfront property a couple of miles downriver. The post was about bears being sighted in our area, and the friend was asking the son something like if he thought their Sasquatch would fight that bear and eat it if the bear came their way. There have been reports for so many years that sadly in my state was unfamiliar with this particular area. Once again, I thank you for being the guiding example, for encouraging and guiding us, the good-hearted, hard-working, good and honest people, seeking the truth and coming together as a community to battle this war we are in against the lies and evil that are trying to take over. I appreciate the time. Thanks, Rachel Goins. You can use my name. I hope I pronounced your last name properly, Rachel. I kind of suck at pronouncing some words on here. G-O-I-N-S, Goins. Rachel, thanks for that email. That must have been one hell of an experience, especially stretching over a frickin' hour. And I've heard the owl hoots myself for sure. I've heard something mimicking wild game birds. I shouldn't say, I mean, an owl's not a game bird, but I've heard something mimicking grouse for sure. I've heard something mimicking owls for sure in my past. Not too intense and it didn't bring any terror to my soul, but it gets your 100% attention, and your attention is captivated by it until it goes away, that's for sure, or until you go away. But anyway, there you go. There's a few more voices heard, a lot more to go, and I gotta go in. My day has come to an end, and I actually do enjoy cracking open the emails. I do absolutely enjoy reading every single one because I love the knowledge. I want to hear it all, I want to learn it all, and like it or not, every single one of us is running out of time. We're all slowly dying. Some of us are going to die sooner than others, but one guarantee is we're eventually going to die. So that means we run out of time. So utilize it well. Do what you love to do nonstop, and don't stop learning, and don't follow people. All right? Follow yourself, use your intuition, your sixth sense, and do not be misled. Don't let anybody lead you anywhere. You gather information for yourself of all sources you can, and you make every decision for yourself when it comes to numerous topics, all right? Do not follow, okay? Share knowledge. Acquire knowledge and share knowledge. That's what we're supposed to be doing. If we do that, we can't lose, right?